again. Only Joel in goal, and the fullback Seamus and Luke Garbutt didn't appear in the semi-final of this competition.
Starting his first game, but he'll be hoping for a clean sheet, as will Arsene Wenger and Steve Bold. Should be a good one.
So, in front of the biggest crowd ever to watch a game in the 7 editions of the Barclays Asia Trophy. The ticket sales this morning were up at 51,000. With a walk-up allowed as well. A collective intake of breath before Craig Pawson, the referee, sets the game on its way. Last time the clubs met was in March, 2-0 to Arsenal at the Emirates, goal from Giroud, and Rosicki, who isn't out here, he wasn't fit to make the trip. Everton were 2-0 up right at the start of the season, and allowed Arsenal to get 2 late goals. Aaron Ramsey and Giroud again. Then Giroud had this injury right almost with the last kick of the game that kept him out for several months. Callum Chambers playing in the centre of defence.
Yeah, Jack Wilshere on the right-hand side this time rather than centrally. Theo Walcott on the left. Ozil through the middle, just behind Olivier Giroud.
Here's Kieran Gibbs. Koscielny. The crowd were kept entertained in the gap between the 2 matches with a staging of the well-known computer game between these clubs. They set it up, Arsenal v Everton, and Arsenal, to the delight of the crowd, won 7-1. I'm not sure perhaps we'll get that in real life. Everton very determined to, what Roberto Martinez says is that the need to recreate the winning mentality. And certainly success here would be a big step towards that. Duncan Ferguson behind him, you can see, who has a testimonial game coming up as part of the pre-season.
It was difficult last year, wasn't it, with the Europa League as well? They never quite got going.
No, they didn't have a start. That was the problem, Alan. They didn't win any pre-season games. Well, they've won a couple already. They beat Swindon a week ago, back in England, and of course, edged the shootout. Well, he's welcome into the Arsenal ranks, isn't he, Petr Cech, who has a winner's memento from this competition 4 years ago, playing for Chelsea. It's Joel, who of course has an FA Cup winner's medal in his time with Wigan. And a relegation that followed just a few days later when Roberto Martinez's Wigan side were beaten at Arsenal. Talk about the highs and the lows. John Stones, who played the second half, as did Stephen Naismith. Here's Seamus Coleman. Oh, he's powering on here to good effect. The left back is Luke Garbutt, in towards Kone. Lukaku played the full 90 minutes on Wednesday. And I think we should get in our statutory mention, Alan, that it is about pre-season training as much as trying to find a winning formula for this particular tournament. But nonetheless, as we've been saying, Winning means a lot. It's in the DNA of these professional players. And no one will be soft-pedalling over the next 90 minutes.
Well, the fact both teams are playing Premier League opponents, it's live on the telly, there's a 50,000 plus crowd. That's only going to help your fitness, I think. Give you an edge that maybe you wouldn't have with a match behind closed doors.
Arsenal a little guilty of overplaying. Naismith stepped in. McCarthy cut out by Bellerin. James McCarthy actually came off injured on Wednesday with a bang on the ankle, but obviously nothing too serious. It is Luke Garbett and not Luke Shaw playing at left back for Everton. There is a real similarity. Do you think?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
That's a good chance for him with Leighton Baines being at home.
Lefeu, who's back here with Everton, so back in the Everton ranks, having had a season on loan 2 years ago when Everton did so well to finish very nearly in the Champions League places. They were right at it, weren't they, for the last couple of weeks of the season. Walcott won't be able to get there. Well, he played in the cup final up front in preference to Giroud, scored for the hat-trick just before that.
Yeah, I wonder whether he'll get another chance or two in the coming season through the middle. It's where he does want to play. It's whether the manager agrees.
Lefeu. Stones. Kept in by Garbett, who probably won't feature in the Premier League lineup for Everton. Roberto Martinez has made it clear that he wants to get him out on loan where he'll get more regular football. Of course, they got Brendan Galloway, who played so well in the first game and had a couple of games at left back. There are other options. Garbett will want to be in, as you say, in place of Leighton Baines, who will be fit for the first game of the season for Everton, which is at home to Watford. Headed on by Gibbs. Both sides gave press conferences yesterday to knock down, well, not specifically, but in it they knocked down transfer rumours. Roberto Martinez said no, Johnny Evans isn't coming from Manchester United. Arsene Wenger said no, Karim Benzema, despite the French connection, is not coming from Real Madrid. He did say that Yaya Sanogo was going on loan to Ajax. I think that's gone through to link up with the coaching skills of Arsenal legends. Dennis Bergkamp, Mark Overmars is there as well. Ozil, not quite through from Jack Wilshere. But here goes the Everton sprinting machine. Lefeu. I think he was, in the end, trying to be more concerned about whether the ball had gone out for a goal kick or not, and just couldn't look up to find the pass. But Arsenal were left in his wake.
Particularly Santi Cazorla, he didn't even try keeping pace with him then. He knew he was beat down this right-hand flank. Almost got too close to Amuna Kone there at the near post, Lefeu.
Here's Gibbs. And again missed out on the cup final, but found himself playing for England after that. Wilshere, Walcott. Garbett was tucked in and needed to be. It's a good start from the neutral point of view. And for the Singaporean point of view. One thing that's made the Asia Trophy more viable, really, in trying to create proper Premier League action, tempo, is the shortness of the summer break and the fact that players are now so disciplined and dedicated. In their time off, it's more for freshening up mentally than it is for letting the body go to rack and ruin. Gibbs. Wilshere. Ooh. How about that from some acceleration from Coleman?
Nice spin from Wilshere, though, originally to get into that space.
Another issue was addressed by Seamus Coleman himself. It always seems to be linked in the windows with moves away from Everton. He said he takes it as a compliment, but he's very happy at his current club. Almost through for Aaron Ramsey. Barry. Coleman held up by the presence of Wilshere. Now come out to the left with Walcott going to a more familiar role on the right. Winning this trophy has often given the successful side a real push for the season ahead. Manchester City, the last winners, of course, went on to win the Premier League and the Capital One Cup as well over the ensuing months.
Nice play by John Stone, stepping into midfield. His distribution is normally very good. He's a very polished centre-half, a young one at that.
Coleman. Stones again, living up to your billing, Alan. Naismith. Every touch he gets, he's going to get a special response here. I do think we have to compliment Chelsea, who would not have wanted Cech to come to a London rival, a title rival, but recognised that he had the right to pick after his wonderful service for Chelsea.
Yeah.
Something like 13 separate honours.
No, it's nice. I don't think Jose Mourinho was overly keen,
No.
but the club were willing to sanction it.
Gibbs trying to find the dangerous head of Giroud. Arsenal pressing again. Santi Cazorla. Kieran Gibbs. Never one really to try and manufacture a shot. Crossed by Wilshere. Kone trying to hold it up, and in fact, the next best thing is to get your side a free kick, and he's done that. Well, Arsene Wenger is a Asia sceptic, if you like, about coming out here, but he recognised the commercial value of it, and certainly did in making sure Arsenal did come out here. Since he's been here, I think he might have been converted, because it is a long trip. It's can be up to 13 hours in a plane, but the welcome has been so heartwarming.
It is. I mean, there's the issue of jet lag, obviously, and the players struggling to sleep. We've all had that, but it comes early on in the pre-season, relatively, so it serves a really useful purpose, I think.
And he did do his deal, we suspect, that the Emirates Cup that you mentioned earlier, which takes place at the Emirates Stadium at Arsenal's home, balances off, and they're home for a while when they do get back. It certainly used to be Austria for a couple of weeks and a couple of low-profile friendlies against not particularly challenging opponents. In fact, Premier League sides playing each other at this stage of the calendar is unusual. But the audience here, very few of whom would have got to see a Premier League game in an English stadium. are loving it. And Craig Pawson has been working on his own fitness. John Moss is also out here too. A couple of Premier League linesmen as well. And John Brooks and Michael Salisbury. Stones. Here's Barry, ready to go again in his long and distinguished service.
Oh, his first touch, Cone is there, just letting him down, and it turned into a scrap with Callum Chambers.
Here's Naismith, trying to get it through to Deulofeu. Arsenal making sure there were no gaps. A lovely change of direction from the little magician with Santi Cazorla. Last time Everton beat Arsenal was some 15 months ago, 3-0 at Goodison Park, at a time, Alan, when Arsenal were really a soft touch away from home, weren't they? That certainly altered last season.
Yeah, I think we saw a change in tact with Arsenal playing some of the big matches, much more organised now.
Walcott. It's too close to Joel. Naismith looking early for Deulofeu. Cazorla's pass. And two did the job against the one who was Walcott.
There's a classic Theo Walcott run there from out to in. Just couldn't suck it into his body.
He's turned himself into a pretty good goal scorer in Premier League terms, hasn't he? Just for England, apart from that hat-trick, which is a way back when now, hasn't quite happened. Koscielny. Wilshere. First thought is forward. Whether it's carrying the ball or passing it in that direction. Walcott. Bellerin outside him. Ramsey. Patient approach from Arsenal here. Everton's work without the ball being tested, their organisation. Ozil. And again, trying to squeeze, actually split Giroud and Walcott.
Always got a disguise on his pass, Mesut Ozil. Never quite know where he's going to slip it into.
More eye-catching touches as well, which they're getting as much cheers as the more, if you like, anticipated football excitement. Giroud goes again with the header. And Ozil raises a foot fairly enough. Craig Pawson says no foul. Everton struggling at the moment to get it away. McCarthy helps, and Barry. Now they can push on the counter-attack. 4 forward, 5 back for Arsenal, not including Czech. Deulofeu. Coleman. Naismith. Here's Wilshere. Giroud sent tumbling by the man with the most Premier League yellow cards. But he has played longer than most people in the Premier League, Gareth Barry. One of those who did play in the 20th century. Bellerin. got all their songs ready, the locals, for the Arsenal players. They even had one for Alan Smith alongside me in recognition of his service. Walcott's offside. Good stop by Joel Robles.
Yeah, he looks a good couple of yards off. One at least. But I'm not sure Joe Robles saw the flag. Might have, but good practice for the keeper and a good stop.
Stones, who of course was unlucky with England under-21s in the Czech Republic in that he picked up a head injury in training. It was ruled out by the medical regulations of England's first two games, only played in the last one, the defeat against Italy.
Well, I think he would have been with the senior squad, wouldn't he, if he hadn't have been selected for the under-21s. He's a player that they rate highly.
Well, there's a left-footed option here, Leighton Baines style, from Luke Garbutt. Really deep enough from De La Feu. He'll run away. Everton haven't won a major trophy since that FA Cup in 1995. Graham Stewart was in that team. He's one of the ambassadors out here. The likes of Graham Sharp, who had plenty of silverware in his day in the 80s. It's been a good trip for those who got out on the pitch and for those who are helping with the PR side of Premier League football. 20 minutes gone in the final, and it's still 0-0 between Arsenal and Everton. Cazorla. He needs no second bidding to get forward. Hector Bellerin. He and Coquelin are probably the great pluses for Arsenal, looking for new faces last season, but I'm sure Arsene Wenger realised they've got to do it again. Out comes Robles, and he's beaten to it by Walcott. And Arsenal get Theo Walcott through the middle, and they get the first goal of the Asia Trophy final.
Well, he does make such good runs, Theo Walcott. He's learnt that over the last 4 or 5 years at the top level. And when you're as quick and as sharp as he is, even Seamus Coleman can't quite deal with it. But I think he knows where the keeper is here, Walcott. It's good awareness. Sees him out of the corner of his eye. Slips it under the body of Robles.
Well, the majority in this 50,000 plus crowd have come to see exactly this sort of thing. Arsenal lead. Here's Naismith. Good header won by Koscielny. Santi Cazorla. De La Feu. Gibbs gets a foot in. Ramsey trying to help out. De La Feu slipping through a gap. He's starting to relax a little bit with this kind of support, I think. One of the reasons he wants to stay in London, his family are very settled in the Surrey area, where of course Chelsea train. If he stays in that house in the next few months. There might be a morning or two when he gets up and goes to the wrong training ground. 11 years with Chelsea. Down by Naismith. That kind of burst that gets him goals and also sets up others.
Oh, he's such a clever player. I think he's surprised a lot of people. Stephen Naismith, with the way he's excelled in the Premier League. Versatile.
Arsenal so close to repeating the dose.
I thought he'd overstretched a bit there, John Stones.
I think more worryingly, Alan, he thinks he's overstretched. He's still on his knees. And Craig Pawson, mindful of the circumstances.
Once again, the threat of Walcott in behind.
Certainly felt something. Stones. England colleagues, of course.
No point in taking chances, but then they're going to need John Stones. He's got a chance of pinning down a regular place, more than capable of doing it at the heart of that defence next to Jagielka.
It's come at an appropriate time for the mid-half drinks break, which we've had in all the matches out here, much needed with the temperatures. Not quite aware of it, bearing in mind there's a roof over this stadium.
Well, he's pretty quick.
Look back at Gerard Deulofeu.
Once he'd knocked it, that was end of story in terms of the contest with Cazorla. And you're right, Martin, he just got that touch wrong, and it was all a bit tight in the end.
He had some good moments when he came on as a second-half substitute on Wednesday. Didn't quite find the right ball, but this is the time to iron out those wrinkles. And he's come back to Everton, having left to return to Barcelona, hoping to be in the Barcelona squad. He didn't manage to do that. Not an easy thing to achieve, however talented you are. Was loaned to Sevilla, where he didn't play as much as he'd hoped either, with one or two injuries along the way. If he believes he belongs at Goodison Park, then I do think Everton have got a weapon that can trouble the best.
Well, he's a crowd pleaser. It's just got to be incorporated into a team.
Chambers. Koscielny. I feel it's quite a big season for Callum Chambers as well, who just fell out of favour over the second half of it.
It was his first year at Arsenal, wasn't it? I think that would have put him in good stead.
He had a tough game, didn't he, at right back down at Swansea after a run in the side. Ramsey. Chambers' ball. Looking for Wilshere, but he didn't find him. Through Theo Walcott. Arsenal lead in the Asia Trophy final. Looking to succeed Manchester City for this piece of silverware. Garbutt. Stones seems okay, which is good news. It's a little bit too straight from James McCarthy for the familiar sight of Seamus Coleman on the gallop.
Yeah, that's Everton at the best when they've got Coleman, Baines on the other side, raiding forward, getting in crosses.
Towards Giroud. Now Barry. Well cut out by Gibbs. Deulofeu was behind him, and now Gibbs can go forward where he's not being tracked. Walcott's actually taken up a position down on this near touch line. Ramsey. Cazorla. Wilshere is Walcott, in fact, crossing. As Ozil tried to... he looked for Wilshere, then found Walcott. There's plenty of options in midfield for Arsenal. Mesut Ozil, who seems to be one that gets singled out. He's been talking about himself out here, that he only listens to what his coaches say. A year ago, he was celebrating winning the World Cup, played in almost all the games, every minute of the games for Jogi Löw. So it must have pleased him.
Well, that's it, isn't it? I think he got some stick back in Germany.
He did, but
as you say,
he's got this sort of languid manner, hasn't he?
Yeah. The coaches appreciate him. Certainly Arsene Wenger does.
Walcott. Now Gibbs. "15 minutes to go to half-time. Arsenal's final so far has to be settled in 90 minutes. We'll go to a penalty shootout like Everton's first game. It was level at that point. Koscielny stepping in. And good thinking by Giroud. One or two of the Everton defenders had rather given that up. And he can't find an accurate pass. Naismith. Deulofeu. Here comes Garbett, who's actually a player who was signed as a very young man from Leeds. He's sort of regarded as one of their own. It's not quite that in all accuracy. Stones. Coleman. Haven't got the ball to Kone, as they did get it to Lukaku, but Arsenal have had more possession perhaps than the opponents in the first game. Stoke had. That's a miscued pass by Cazorla. He actually turned away in disgust with himself. Yeah, nearly bounced away to Ozil.
Yeah, the ball was on to Giroud. There was a big gap there for him to find.
Phil Jagielka wrapped up the penalty shootout win against Stoke on Wednesday. 5 out of 5 from the spot, the Everton men. Gibbs. Again, Everton having to work extremely hard without the ball, which will help their fitness. And could drop a blanket over 4 Arsenal players after Giroud without much support in the middle. Gibbs. Ozil. It was always veering right. It's the sort of range that Aaron Ramsey's made a habit of hitting the target from. Very proud to be a member of the first Wales squad to get in the top 10 in the FIFA rankings, and plenty of exciting times ahead, and real chance of being in those Euro finals at the end of this upcoming season. They have already played a part in this calendar. We're a week earlier here than usually for the Aces Trophy. The Premier League season starting, of course, early in August, August the 8th. I wonder how the England national team will be, in what sort of shape in a year's time from now. haven't really been tested in the qualifiers, Alan. We've seen them all, haven't we?
No, I think from the day they beat Switzerland away, we all knew they were going to qualify, really. It was a matter of waiting for the finals to see if they just can do better.
There was a block off on Walcott there that Craig Pawson takes a benevolent view from the Everton point of view. Ramsey. Wilshere. Ramsey again. Giroud. It's a lovely turn. Oh, and a reach by Joel. And help on hand from John Stones. That's what a goalkeeper needs when he pushes one out, rather than a forward tapping it in.
Arsenal had got Walcott and Wilshere stood off waiting for the cutback.
Ozil's header. Wilshere. It's only occasional breaks that Everton are able to rely on, and when they tackle one of their own, it's not going to improve. Arsenal are finding the range with their passing.
They're really testing Everton here with those typically intricate moves around the box, trying to thread little balls through. Well on top here, Arsenal.
Koscielny coming forward, Chambers as well. And Giroud, always a danger. And it's not been cleared at all decisively. And Arsenal come again. Everton somewhat on the rack here. All hands to the pump, including Stephen Naismith. Another corner.
And it's difficult for them. They haven't been able to get out and give themselves a breather.
Ozil takes. They just can't keep the ball when they do get it up towards the halfway line. Santi Cazorla. Giroud. Wilshere. Bellerin, who put in a delightful cross for Chuba Akpom to get the third of his hat-trick on Wednesday. Chambers. Ozil. Wilshere. Times a little too easy in that middle third. Everybody wanting a touch of the ball in the Arsenal colours at the moment. It's a rare touch for the likes of Deulofeu over the last 10 minutes. I'm glad to get a chance here at least to be in possession from the free kick. Inside the last 10 minutes of the first half. Arsenal ahead, and on the balance of play, you'd say that was fair, Alan?
Yeah, I don't think you can argue with that. Everton really just trying to find their feet in terms of...
But to stay in the game, really, at the moment.
Well, they'd just like to try and string some moves together, find a bit of rhythm going forward.
Garbutt. Into Barry. Now Jagielka. This is where John Stones is so impressive. A centre-back who moves into that kind of area with a glide, a bit like Rio Ferdinand. This is more promising for Everton. Podacek hasn't really been called upon to do anything dramatic yet. And the break is on for the Gunners. Having to wait a little bit for support, Kieran Gibbs, and he was being forced more and more to the left to make an angled pass infield more difficult.
Yeah, there aren't many teams about better at counter-attacking than this Arsenal side.
We talk about it as a sort of modern-day feature, the more athletic the game becomes, but in your playing days, Alan, do you play in teams that were happy to play on the break, or was that an away game phenomenon?
Yeah, I mean, it's always been a tactic, hasn't it? It's probably increasingly so these days, as the game becomes a little bit more tactical.
Well, partly through Arsenal's excellence in this first almost 40 minutes, and partly through the fact that they are blowing a bit, Everton, because they've had to do a lot of the work without the ball. When they are getting in possession, it must be really frustrating for Roberto Martinez, who thrives so much on the philosophy of keeping the ball, protecting it, passing it. But the accuracy has come from the opposition. Not that time. There we go. Curse of the commentator.
No, he'll appreciate what he's seen from the Arsenal lads, but frustrated that his team can't show their wares at the moment.
Coleman. Tracking back, and if Seamus Coleman was complaining, Jack Wilshere wasn't having too much to do with it. It is a foul. Carve it across to take it again. Aruna Kone does need to get on the goal trail, you feel, for Everton. He's had a bad time with injuries since his move from Wigan. That's a difficult one, and the flag is up. And it's Kone who puts the ball in the net, but the flag went up straight away.
Well, it did, but it was a magnificent save originally from Petr Cech. He got a touch onto the crossbar. The merest little flick.
By Naismith, what a save.
Yeah, those are the kind of saves, if the flag had stayed down, that can win your trophies, certainly earn your points.
And even then, Kone was going to be off target. Only went in off a teammate. But none of it would have counted. The flag was up straight away. So it's 1-0 still to Arsenal. Gibbs. But a reminder to Arsenal that they are still very much in a game, despite having had a fair bit of territorial control. Bellerin. Here's Wilshere, not picked up. Well, it was offside again in the middle. Giroud this time.
They really are pushing and pulling Everton all over the place, Arsenal, when they're going forward. Finding the free man. Just goes a bit early, Giroud.
Oh, it's been a difficult first half for Roberto Martinez and his coaches, Graham Jones, there with Duncan Ferguson. But that close call just now should be an encouragement. Here's Kone. And when Arsenal have had to do some defending, Chambers and Koscielny have put up the barricades. Oh, the long run was made by Giroud, which is difficult in this heat, and he's not getting back as quickly as you'd expect to see him in the middle of an English winter. Full fitness. Deulofeu finding it hard going, and just a little reach towards that left hamstring, which might concern Everton. We've been putting him through special sprinting training because he is that kind of player. Not everyone, I don't think, does that, but they've got somebody itemised to get the best out of Deulofeu. Usually the running exercises are done for all the team. They're aware of what Deulofeu, Everton, of course, having had him before, what he can contribute. And they'll be aware of the pitfalls of being that quick. Here's Wilshere. Everton retreating. Wilshere again. Ozil sliding it in to where Giroud couldn't keep it, but they're still on the front foot here. Well, Aaron Ramsey's too young to remember it, but Marco van Basten.
Yeah, he took the words out of my mouth. Maybe he has seen it. It was the hardest of finishes for him there. Lovely pick out by Ozil.
It was in the 1988 European Championships. In the end, the shot was just rushed a little bit by Tom Cleverley.
Not seen much of him in this game. He's had to do a lot of running without the ball in his own half.
He did have a little spell towards the end of last season when, of course, he was on loan from Manchester United at Aston Villa. He scored 3 in quick succession in games towards the end of the run in the league that kept Aston Villa up. So he played in the cup final as well. That was his last game for Villa, and Manchester United let him go to Everton. Here's Walcott. It's a beautifully, again, disguised pass.
So well
Giroud
disguised.
Couldn't deal with it.
I think he might have taken him by surprise.
I think with Ozil, you just have to not go for the first move.
Well, always expect it, no matter where he's shaping up to pass it, no matter where he's looking.
You can see him making his way back with his first 45 minutes of this trip almost completed. And it will be about fitness as well as footballing skills. Arsenal have certainly done the footballing side better than Everton in the first half, but just the 1 goal to show for it. Here's Giroud. And there is the half-time whistle. Final thoughts, Alan Smith?
Well, it's been an entertaining game if you're an Arsenal fan, an encouraging one. Some really good football played, but Roberto Martinez will be hoping that he can do more to test that man than they have so far. Plenty to play for.
One save from Czech that caught the eye, but it was after the offside flag had gone up. 1 goal from Theo Walcott that also caught the eye, and that's the difference between the two sides in the Asia Trophy final 2015.
So Arsenal looking dangerous today. 1-0 they lead at the moment against
And I think the movement from Arsenal's front three has made it very, very difficult for Everton's back four to cope.
How encouraging is that for Arsene Wenger, given the fact that Alexis Sanchez isn't even involved in this squad right now? So he's still to come back into this side.
No, it's brilliant. And I think, for example, we talked about Walcott before the game. I think the important thing with him is that although he was set up to play on the left, he has been playing very narrow. So that could be a happy medium for him at Arsenal. But like I say, I think the front three and Arsenal in general have been very, very good.
Petr Cech, been very good for Arsenal as well, making his debut for the Gunners. We saw him make a big save to keep Arsenal with a clean sheet. It was interesting, John Terry said of his move when he moved from Chelsea to Arsenal that he'll give Arsenal 12 to 15 points per season more. Is that a perfect example of that happening?
It is. It's a fantastic save here. You see, he tips it onto the ball. But the big thing is as well is that he wasn't really called into action before then, so he has to be mentally aware. And you can see, obviously, that he's offside, but Petr Cech didn't know here. I think Naismith and Barry, you know, there's every chance they were both offside. But Cech didn't know that, and that's what you want from a goalkeeper. Sometimes when you're at a big club, there will be times when a goalkeeper's not needed, but then what you need is when they are needed to be ready, and Cech made a fantastic save then.
Absolutely. So 1-0 the score at half-time right now. Arsene Wenger should be happy with that one. Take that 1-0 lead into the second half. Can Roberto Martinez turn it around, though? Pre-season silverware is on the line. The second half is next. Minus Barcelona, Bayern Munich, Inter Milan, Roma, all involved, as well as Steven Gerrard with the LA Galaxy. Scored on his debut last night. You can see him in action potentially against Barcelona. And Raheem Sterling as well, perhaps the first chance to see him in a Manchester City shirt. That is all live for you on Sky Sports on Tuesday and Wednesday. And, well, the wait, it is almost over. The new Premier League season is now less than 3 weeks away. You can watch the best of the action right here on Sky Sports. Chelsea, Arsenal, Liverpool and Manchester City, all live for you, kicking off the 2015-2016 season. In the Barclays Asia Trophy, it's Arsenal 1-0 up against Everton at half-time. Arsenal really dominating possession in that first half. How do Everton now turn it around, Danny?
I think what's happening is when Arsenal are losing the ball, Everton are trying to play 3-4 touches, and it's so condensed. So I just think they need to use the pace of Deulofeu and the likes of Kone and just try and turn Arsenal a little bit, get them going back towards their own goal and earn that right to play before, just trying to make the 3 or 4 intricate passes.
All right, well, kick off for the second half just around the corner. Now let's join your commentary team for the second half. It's Alan Smith and first Martin Tyler.
Changes from both camps. Ross Barkley and Kevin Morales on for Everton. And Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain has come on for Jack Wilshere. In the Arsenal ranks, Arsenal, let me remind you, leading by a Theo Walcott goal to 0. And Everton starting the second half with some genuine purpose. They found it very hard, Alan Smith, didn't they, to really get any periods of controlled possession in the first half.
They did. It kept breaking down. They've got Ross Barkley on the pitch now, and talking about big seasons, he needs one. Needs to be in that first team week in, week out, get his eye in, show us all what he can do, and we all know the depth of his talent. But last year or so, it stuttered and stopped, really, his development.
Morales has gone out to the right. Kone at the moment shaping more to the left.
Yeah, it might be one of those strikerless formations from Roberto Martinez.
Try and get some update on Deulofeu, who was feeling that hamstring. Possibly he would have been scheduled to be replaced at half-time anyway. Here's Ozil. And Walcott's eyes lighting up again.
There's an inviting ball coming across his body, trying to feed it into that far corner. Seamus Coleman gets a foot in.
Oxlade-Chamberlain to take the corner. Koscielny and Chambers up again, the two central defenders. And stray arm, I think, used to remind of Craig Pawson, the referee. Have to get a free kick. Kone going for it. And some good work by Morales then to make a back pass out of the equation. Arsenal a bit of a problem working the ball out from that position. They've got the throw. Bellerin's been upgraded in terms of the squad numbers to 24 now. That's lovely play to announce his arrival from Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain. Gibbs. Ramsey, back for Walcott, brilliant from Arsenal. Oh, and it took Giroud by surprise. But they come again, offside. Nifty little header from Ozil, but he wouldn't have counted anyway.
Well, it's fantastic play from the Gunners. Theo Walcott getting himself to the byline and just putting it into an area where he's going to expect somebody to tap it in.
Cleverly. Just wonder, Alan, whether James McCarthy and Gareth Barry started the other game as well, whether it's hard for them to engage with Arsenal's midfield. Not totally down to those two players, but they are the ones who will be expected to press and chase and make the game a little bit more territorially Everton's way.
Yeah, well, it's hard work any day of the week against Arsenal, but in these conditions, when it's your second match in a few days, even tougher.
Kone. Barkley was shaping to shoot. Ramsey had other ideas. Santi Cazorla. Ozil has the disguise this time. Maybe took Oxlade-Chamberlain by surprise that there wasn't much disguise. He's won it back. All eagerness and energy. He'll do well to sustain that. Just because it's later in the evening doesn't mean it's getting much cooler. Barkley. Come out by Chambers. Ramsey forced into an error. Cleverly. Barry. Morales way in from the right-hand side, and maybe hoping Seamus Coleman would have galloped forward. It's not so easy to do that here. We haven't had a game yet in this tournament in which both teams have scored. It tells you how tough it is when you do go behind and the opposition are good enough maybe just to keep the ball without stretching themselves to add to the lead. The heat helps the defending if you are in front. But Barry given time to roll it out here to Luke Garbett. Kone. Barkley. Garbett winding up. Carried away spectacularly by Czech. It's a good hit from the young left-back. And Czech might admit it was a good height for him to save. Here's Ozil. Ramsey. Santi Cazorla goes for goal, parried by his fellow Spaniard Joel Robles.
Yeah, difficult one that to collect first time.
Arsenal looking to regain that first half authority. Oxlade-Chamberlain out here, of course, without Alexis Sanchez, who's been given time off following his great Copa America with the South American champions Chile. But Everton making the point it's a much more orderly pre-season for them than it was a year ago when the players were coming back in dribs and drabs from the World Cup. Never really got together. Walcott. Look at the number of red and white shirts forward here. Ozil. Cazorla. Ramsey thinking about having going for a return, but thought better of it. Then Oxlade-Chamberlain said, come on, have a go yourself. Oh, it's a poor clearance, Giroud. It's a bit of a mess. And it includes the attempted finish as well from Walcott, who was probably taken by surprise at the series of events, strange events before that.
Yeah, unusually poor from Coleman, that, and a missed kick. His first touch sets him up, didn't really have much to aim at the far post there, Walcott. But this was the Petr save. He digs it out. Luke Garbett, real power from a standing start.
Garbett again. It still looks as though Aruna Kone is searching for that sharpness that he had before his injury. A bit of a coming together there. Stones trying to disarm Giroud. Bellerin, Oxlade-Chamberlain. Ozil. All the managers here have been talking about doing better next season than last. For Arsenal, of course, having won the FA Cup for a second time in a row, got up to third in the Premier League, pushing for a title they haven't won since the Invincibles. It's very much a prime aim. Offside.
It's a lovely ball from Ozil as well. Not an easy one to pick out, but Walcott straying.
He's playing some great passes, Ozil, but in that way, it's not an assertive way of playing. As if Jack Wilshere does it, Aaron Ramsey, Oxlade-Chamberlain, it's just more apparent for Ozil. Such a lazy swing of the foot, yeah. But it does the job.
Yeah.
As we said in the first half, we really have to defend the contribution that he makes, because it was, before we came out, all the talk was, oh, Ozil will be... Certainly not what we're hearing from Arsene Wenger. Here goes the obvious talents of Oxlade-Chamberlain. And what a goal it would have been. It would have been a typical Giroud flying header. He flew, but he didn't head. And he's taking his time getting back into the action. Arsenal got another problem as well, as Everton are still in this, despite the real paucity of their attacking play, because Arsenal have been so good on the ball. Barry. Mirallas. Now Garbett. Barry. Mirallas. Half thinking about the shot. Probably wasn't quite the space to get Coleman in behind in that position. And again, Seamus Coleman, who's so quick at recovering. Normally it's another just little postcard from Singapore about how difficult it is to get your breath back, and particularly when, what are they in really, what the managers would call week 2 of pre-season, only that. Here's Bellerin though, he's got plenty of fuel in the tank.
Well, they've got some pace going forward down this side, particularly Bellerin and Oxlade-Chamberlain. It's a real test for Luke Garbett and teammates. Easy enough stop that time from Joel. Real pace. McCarthy can't handle it.
You'd have fancied that, Alan, wouldn't you?
Oh, it's a nice ball in.
Short corner from Arsenal involving Ozil and Santi Cazorla. Plotters in chief here of what they hope will be the downfall of Everton. There you go, that could mean the downfall of Everton in the Asia Trophy. Santi Cazorla scores. Clever play from Arsenal from the short corner. Weariness in Everton's attempt to block off the avenue of approach. And the captain for the day is a goal scorer on the day.
Well, for a team that, as you say, is only in week 2 of pre-season, they're looking pretty good. Pretty slick at times out here. And that might just put the lid on it through the legs of McCarthy.
19.
Everton have got to dig very deep here. Now getting Leon Osman, he was actually ready to come on before the goal. Bellerin pressed into conceding a corner by Kone. Found a little bit of extra in the sprint then. And you have to against Bellerin, who is, as we mentioned the other night, officially the fastest member of the Arsenal squad. Well, it would be interesting if Everton can get a goal back from this Morales corner. And it didn't get beyond the front. Defender goes back to Morales again from Garbett. Still plenty of players forward. Cleverly. Ooh, there was a chance just to steer it through there for Morales. And Arsenal this time are making a bit of a meal of getting it away. And now they can break. But not for long. Stopped by Jagielka. Garbett. Barkley. Jagielka. And Kone coming in! Well, that could have changed the complexion of this final.
No, it should have really. Gloriously flighted ball from Jagielka. Slipping in between the two defenders. Maybe gets ahead of it. Kone making it difficult. On target. It's a great chance.
So Leon Osman and Romelu Lukaku. James McCarthy comes off. Remember, he did pick up a minor injury in that first game. Leon Osman, who was with Everton out here in Asia 10 years ago, when they actually finished bottom of the competition, and it's a straight swap. So that miscued header was Kone's last contribution. Lukaku, who could have won the first game against Stoke in regulation time, had a couple of chances right at the end before the penalties, but he scored his penalty, and it didn't make any difference in the end. Now a tall order, you can see the time just past the hour mark and the clock at the far end of the ground, and the score. Red leads blue 2-0. It could be 3-0. Ozil's ball. Walcott skies it.
Yeah, Aaron Ramsey couldn't quite take it in his stride, so cutting it back to Theo Walcott. Lovely one on the spin, though, from Ozil. Perfectly weighted.
Well, as Everton have to go for it, you do expect that Arsenal would make more chances, have more space. And this could be one straight away. This will absolutely wrap it up. No messing, no missing from Mesut Ozil. Well, they do look good. Alan Smith, ex-gunner.
They certainly do. I mean, it's very early doors. But they've got so many potential match winners in the side. Everton are looking tired. Jagielka on this near side playing everybody on. He starts it with a layoff and finishes it expertly.
Well, if this performance hasn't been, I'm happy where I am, it hasn't been anything. And he's looked in tune with everybody. He's certainly been playing with a smile on his face. He hasn't been watching with a smile on his face very much, but there's plenty to be pleased about from Arsene Wenger's point of view. We did mention that computer game scoreline.
Well,
a bit to go yet, Arsenal, but it's here's Lukaku. knocking Chambers out of the way. Cleverly. It's about concentration for the London club now. Another counter-attack was looming large then. Morales. Ramsey. Arsenal on the hunt once more here in Singapore. Oh, and it's Walcott. Well read in the end by Joel Robles, but it comes out to Bellerin, who was being encouraged to shoot by the crowd, but not by too many of his teammates. And he's going to scamper back now. Barry. Barkley. And he did scamper back, the Spanish right back. Here's Oxlade-Chamberlain. Giroud. Happy to do a stint on the left. Ramsey. It's interesting, Stoke came out very early. They've been here for some 9 days now to acclimatise. Everton ramped up the temperatures at their swimming pool at the training ground to create an environment where they trained in steamy temperatures. I'm not sure that Arsenal quite bought into the tournament as much as that, and here they are, fresh as daisies, trying to make it 4-0. And Bellerin still going. Ozil. Now Ramsey. Your good friend and ex-teammate Steve Bold was telling you, Alan, wasn't he, that they've had one group of young players to work with for a few days, and the senior international players hardly any time at all.
No, that's right, but as the next couple of weeks progress, everybody will come together. You have to tread carefully, don't you, in the early days, because players are at different levels of fitness.
He looks as though he's been doing the training himself. A former Arsenal centre-back, he was spraying the ball around in the practice session here on Tuesday. I don't quite know how Everton go about it from here. Still the last quarter of the final to go. And if they overcommit, the scoreline could get pretty nasty from their point of view. But here's Barkley, can't quite reach it. No nonsense defending by Laurent Koscielny.
Yeah, I mean, the result is, when all said and done, secondary. But the last thing you want is to get a hiding, because that kind of scoreline can stay with you. It can dent morale.
I think it's secondary if you lose. Been a lot of talk about wanting, the trophy's been on display pretty much everywhere where the press conferences have been, and of course with 2 of the 3 teams, Everton and Stoke, staying in the same hotel. A bit of rivalry before and after the first game. Arsenal have had kept their own council in a different hostelry here in Singapore.
Luxury hotel, I'd call it.
Yeah. There is a famous landmark in Singapore of 3 towers with joined together at the top by a cross, like the bails in cricket, really, shaped as a ship. And it seemed a great shame that we didn't put a team in each of the towers, and then they could have maybe met in the swimming pool at the top for some waterhead tennis. I know Arsenal have been on the internet knocking the ball around their own swimming pool. Here's Coleman. Away by Chambers, and Lukaku got a hand off in the eye. It wasn't deliberate. I want to say it doesn't hurt. Oh, he's definitely onside. Oxlade-Chamberlain here. Well, if he was going to pass it, it perhaps could have come a bit earlier. There's always the risk in the end that Ramsey would have gone offside. There's the kind of counter-attack that Everton will fear in the time that remains. Now here's Lukaku looking for a bit of respectability. And Morales. There's good defending by Bellerin.
There's two speed merchants together there, Morales and Bellerin. Convinced it was a corner.
The referee had a different angle on it to us. And maybe Bellerin's tackle took it out of Morales. That's obviously what Craig Pawson thought. Cazorla has got deeper and deeper, hasn't he, as his time at Arsenal has progressed. He's now one of the two central midfield players, or was towards the second half of last season, and started in that role here tonight.
Yeah, he enjoyed that spell at the end of the season.
Oxlade-Chamberlain. Well, the thrusts are so quick, and Everton labouring to keep Arsenal at bay. They can't stop the opportunities coming, and they're just fortunate that some of them are being missed.
No, it's looking like doubly hard work at the moment for those Everton defenders. He was just hoping Joel was going to sit down.
Well, here comes the club captain. He's just signed a new 2-year contract, Mikel Arteta. It's the first sight of Arteta in the tournament, and obviously, given the desperate times he's had recently with injuries, not going to take any great chances with him. A good time to come on. 20 minutes to go. Trophy seemingly in the bag. Theo Walcott played a part in that, departing having scored the crucial opening goal. I guess the task for Arsene Wenger is sorting out the balance. I know there are a lot of games, but Cazorla's certainly going to be in the team. Ozil has played so well here tonight. This is the Cazorla effort. This is 2-0.
Yeah, he can go either way, so he's a nightmare to close down. He can let fly with both feet, but I mentioned earlier, so many match winners, and talk of where Jack Wilshere is going to play. Now he's come back fit. It's a nice problem to have for the manager. Oxlade-Chamberlain too, but rarely is everybody fit during the course of the season, so quite often your mind is made up.
Well, very contrasting emotions in the two dugout areas. It's been a bit chastening for Everton. Certainly chasing has been most of the evening for them. Barry. On from Cleverly. Everton get a corner. There's a group of fans behind the goal that Everton are attacking. That's something to get excited about. Garbutt to take it. And check to punch it away. Arsenal pulled everyone back and be retrieved here by Tom Cleverley. Jagielka supplying from the left. Coleman, Osman. Now Barkley. Everton finishing 11th last season with the complexities of the Europa League. It took a long time to really get their season underway. They were 2 up in their opening 2 games, away to Leicester and at home to Arsenal, and only got the 2 points from those games.
Yeah, they were in a winning position at Leicester, weren't they? And they let it slip, and likewise with Arsenal.
Lukaku. Now, here's Oxlade-Chamberlain, but he's taken it into trouble, and that could be costly because Barkley's in with a shooting chance here, and he scores. Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain rather hangs his head. Ross Barkley gives the fans in Singapore a glimpse of his considerable potential.
Well, we've hardly seen him really since he's come on, but this is him to a T. Talked about Cazorla going left or right, being able to hit it with either foot. Well, that applies to Ross Barkley too. Oxlade-Chamberlain just running into traffic. Really catches it sweetly there. Flies past Petr Cech.
At 3-1, Arsenal bring Debuchy on for Bellerin. Santi Cazorla comes off as well. Francis Coquelin. Is coming on. And here comes the hat-trick hero of the first game, Shuba Akpom. Now we do have to wait for the verdict on the man of the tournament. It's not easy where people are only playing fits and starts of games. Akpom, after 3, if he could get himself on the score sheet here,
he could clinch it.
He must have a chance. And you certainly wouldn't be surprised if he gets an opportunity to score, because Everton, having given themselves at least a sniff of a chance of a recovery, there's no point in being bashful in these circumstances. The Martinez men.
I think with Everton, Martin, so much stands or falls on the influence of Lukaku, how well he does this season, and perhaps also whether Ross Barkley can perform more regularly and do the kind of thing we've just seen. Because if they're not performing, sometimes they can be a little blunt going forward.
Akpom hoping that might drop his way. Barry. Garbett. Arteta's tackle, former Everton man, of course. And he's conceded the free kick outside the area, though Barkley ended up in it. It'll be interesting if they could find a way to a second goal here. Arsenal haven't exactly switched off, but understandably 3 goals to the good. They would think the job is pretty much completed. It may not be the case. Still more than 10 minutes to go. Morales leaves it, clipped in by Garbutt. Unfortunately for Petr Cech, it flew straight at him.
Yeah, Gareth Barry had actually gone in early expecting the first one, but then it came straight to him.
Here's Cleverley. It's all very well. The minds of the Everton players will be, come on, we've got to try and raise it for the last 10 minutes, but for the bodies, after this sapping time in Singapore, it's not just the matches, of course, they've been training hard in the non-match days. Bit of ball boy work from the Arsenal boss. I know some managers who would have just let that ball settled for a moment and used up a few more seconds of time when you're 3-1 up with 10 minutes to go. He wants to see more of his team. Ozil. Game with Ramsey. Akpom waiting in the middle. Arteta. Back by Gibbs. A little bit more conservative Arsenal at the moment. Debuchy. And got forward to win a penalty in the game against the Singapore select squad, who were beaten again today 2-0 by Stoke City in the game for third and fourth place. Goals from Stephen Sidwell and Marko Arnautovic. Cleverley. Barry. Jagielka's played every minute of this tournament for Everton. But there might be, we're hearing from the touchline, a possibility that he won't actually do 2 90s. Arsenal retreat. We're in the last 10 minutes of this very entertaining final. Arsenal trying to rediscover some fresh powder in the counter-attacking cannon that they've blasted Everton with. Look at those red and white shirts. Some good business done here by Ivan Gazidis and his commercial team.
Yeah, they certainly spread the word.
But you tend to think of Manchester United and Liverpool have had real decades, generations of success, but have been at the forefront of English clubs doing well outside of the UK. But Chelsea have been working hard at it, Manchester City as well. Success, of course, breeds it. And Joel stopping Chuba Akpom, nipping in for another one. England under-20 international. Touch wide by Osman. Lukaku wanting it floated in, something for him to fight for. He's relatively fresh. Here's Jagielka wide to Garbutt. Lukaku still repositioning in the centre, and that's over his head. And Arsenal can see it out, and ever closer to seeing it out to get the silverware. Tyus Browning, versatile defender, played in the central defence and at right back in the first game. And of course Tony Hibbert, still very much part of Everton, the age of 34, with no intentions of retiring. And the two centre-backs. No, it's a very good effort for Phil Jagielka. 90 minutes, the winning penalty as well in the first game. 83 minutes this time.
Tony Hibbert with his long sleeves on.
Yeah, he was training in an extra top on Tuesday.
He's got a vest on underneath there.
He has, yeah. Well, they say the fat burning is more difficult when you get over 30.
Yeah. So they tell me.
He's still at your playing weight. Garbutt. Browning. Hibbert. Well, certainly getting a better share of the ball, Everton now. Arsenal quite happy to defend. Well, the attendance has been announced, 52,107. And they might have another goal to witness here. It's a corner. That is a record for the Barclays Asia Trophy. And it's right up there with the best that's been in this stadium. And the word will spread. I'm sure other teams, whether it's in the Asia Trophy or not, other English clubs will come out here to play again. Because the pitch is good, the fan base is fantastic. Here's the corner. Hit out by Akpom. A bit of pushing by Browning.
Well, they've managed to reverse the tide for a little bit, haven't they? The goal helping them on the way, Everton. I just want whether they've been actually taken by surprise by the sharpness of Arsenal's play out here tonight, not expecting it so early on in pre-season.
Well, they did go with more players who played in the first game. Everton. Arsenal, of course, had a vast squad, the biggest squad out here of the four sides taking part. 9 of the 11 that took the field for this final hadn't taken part in the competition until tonight. Ramsey. Here's Ramsey. Oxlade-Chamberlain. Still Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain, who was at fault for the Everton goal. Here's Ozil. Coquelin. Oh, and that really tested Tony Hibbert. He's not a stranger to playing as a central defender. He's done it in the Premier League, but of course doesn't have the height. Free kick to Everton. 2 minutes to go. Here's Garbett. Lukaku couldn't quite set himself. Chambers read it well. Oof. And here's a chance for Chuba Akpom. Oh, and the goalkeeper's lost it. It'll come back Akpom's way. Everton not out of this particular wood yet, but Akpom, I think, after his 3 goals here on Wednesday, was fancying a second bite at that particular cherry, which Everton weren't going to allow him.
Didn't quite get hold of his shot. Bobbled it towards Joel.
Cleverly. Chelsea 03, Bolton 05, Portsmouth 07, Spurs 09, both of those under Harry Redknapp's management. Chelsea again 2011, Manchester City 2013. To that roll of honour, we're about to add Arsenal, the first team in red to win the Asia Trophy, colour so often associated with winning. Coquelin. Akpom. Ooh. It was a simple pass, really. And Oxlade-Chamberlain just overcooked it.
Yeah, he was kicking himself, Oxlade-Chamberlain.
Remember, 2 years ago, the winners of the Asia Trophy went on to win the Barclays Premier League and the Capital One Cup as well. The League Cup, Manchester City. We're in added time. And Arsenal looking to ice the cake. A bit like that ping-pong effort early in the second half that took Walcott by surprise. Of course, they've got the Community Shield to come in a couple of weeks.
All big games.
It's red against blue. It's Chelsea. Lukaku doesn't quite get there. Morales, though, trying to use the defender as a screen, a bit like Cazorla did when he scored. Petacek, who won it with Chelsea 4 years ago, and they beat Aston Villa in the final. Trying to do the Asia Trophy double. Oxlade-Chamberlain, who has done perhaps more than most to play the game at an electrifying pace. It hasn't always come off for him, but it's certainly been exciting to see his intention. He's another one who needs to put together a really full season of football with those injury problems that have dogged him for 2 or 3 years now. It's not quite the same as winning the FA Cup at Wembley. You all know that. But when you're in a competition, you're in it to win it. And when Craig Pawson blows that whistle, Arsenal have won it. Well done to Arsene Wenger and his players. Alan Smith.
Well, it's been a thoroughly enjoyable tournament, hasn't it? Lots to commend it. But today we've seen certainly the best team in this tournament in Arsenal, and some world-class talent showing us surprisingly good form so early on in this pre-season. It's been a joy to watch tonight, actually, particularly if you're an Arsenal fan. Thoroughly deserved.
Santi Cazorla got the second goal, Mesut Ozil the third after Theo Walcott had given them the half-time lead. Ross Barkley with a moment to remember for Everton in a match that they perhaps won't remember with quite such affection. It could have been worse, actually, the way Arsenal set about them, particularly in the first half of the second half. And a final score in the final: Arsenal 3, Everton 1. Well, they need rehydrating. But that winning feeling, whether it's pre-season or in the heart of the major trophy gathering, it's still what keeps professional players of this level going. Arsenal using the full extent of their squad. Hector Bellerin, one of a few to get involved in both matches. Remember, they beat the Singapore Select 11 4-0. Well, let's get a reaction from the Arsenal camp and from Mikel Arteta.
Mikel, did that feel almost like a real Premier League game?
Yeah, I think the intensity was very good. The quality of the game, I think it was good. The conditions are hard here, but I think we have adapted really well, so it was a good test for our preparation.
And what's it like to win a trophy before the season's even started?
Well, we take it as a friendly, but we want to win every game, you know, so we work really hard all week. We're really pleased with the reception and the atmosphere that they have created here, so thanks a lot to the supporters for being here.
And you almost seem to impose yourself on the game straight away. That slick passing Arsenal game, everyone could see it from the beginning.
That's what we want. We've been working hard the last 2 weeks. We know the potential, we know how focused we want to be, we want to be successful, so it's a good start. Thank you.
So they're ready to go up for the presentation. But before that happens, let's hear from another successful Arsenal player, Kieran Gibbs.
Kieran, what was that like to play in?
Difficult, very difficult. We knew it was when you come out to Asia, it's always tough conditions. The main objective was that we get some good fitness in at a good level again. No Premier League fixture or game is easy, so it's good preparation for the boys and good to get a win. Obviously, it's a friendly, but we certainly played well and I felt we deserved it.
Thank you very much, Kieran. Thank you.
Way home soon and ready to play in their own tournament where they